Hi, I'm Dr. Dean Zedmart, formulator for Supplement Needs, and in this video we're going to cover the Liver Stack. So what is the Liver Stack? It's been designed as a supplement to aid in liver metabolism, as well as helping to support estrogen clearance from the body. When we look at liver health, it can be a silent killer, the same as kidney disease. What can happen with liver disease is that we end up with either non-alcohol fatty liver disease, NAFLD, or we end up with fibrosis of the liver, which is ultimately scarring from injury caused to the liver that hasn't healed correctly. Everyone is probably aware that your liver is probably one of the most resilient organs in your body and has the potential to heal due to having a reserve of stem cells that can come in and treat and heal any damage that's occurred to the liver. So the Liver Stack, through its combination of its two components, one, there is a cholestasis prevention stack, which is going to help prevent fatty acids from building up in the liver, help to support your bile flow so that we don't get any bile backflow to the liver, which can again kill liver cells, and aid in fatty acid removal from the liver for excretion. Within that, we have TUDCA at 800 milligrams, which is a bile acid salt which contributes to bile flow and bile synthesis. So by supplementing with TUDCA, we're helping our body to prevent cholestasis by ensuring that we have adequate bile to flush things into the small intestine through the bile ducts. Our gallbladder is what's mainly responsible for generating bile. So if we do end up with cholestasis, where actually the bile becomes stagnant, we're not making enough bile, or cholesterol is crystallized in those bile ducts, we end up with a backflow into the liver which can kill liver cells. So what we're trying to do is help bile flow adequately to the small intestine. We've also added in 1,000 milligrams of a synthetic bile from ox bile. Ox bile is bioidentical in most senses to human bile. So again, that's going to help emulsify fats that we're ingesting and help to take some strain away from the gallbladder. And then we have 800 milligrams of choline and 800 milligrams of inositol. So these molecules act as fatty acid transporters within the liver. So again, what we're looking for to do there is to prevent fatty acids from building up in the liver. The second part of the Liver Stack then looks at estrogen metabolism. This is very important, more so for male bodybuilders, but it can apply to females also. The reason being is that when we look at estrogen or estradiol in our blood work, it's not just a matter about the number of estradiol that you see on your serum blood work. We also need to take into account that our liver is what processes estradiol for clearance. So it helps to metabolize the estradiol and then eliminate it either through feces or through urine. With this estrogen elimination complex within the Liver Stack, there's two ingredients. We've 200 milligrams of DIM, diindolylmethane, and 1,000 milligrams of calcium D-glucarate. Now, both of these have separate actions. DIM acts on our phase 1 pathway within liver metabolism. So phase 1 metabolism in the liver involves doing chemical transformations to molecules to change their structure, to make them more bioavailable for excretion. So when we look at estradiol, it has three main metabolites: 2-hydroxyestradiol, 4-hydroxyestradiol, and 16-hydroxyestradiol. What we specifically really want is for estradiol to get converted to 2-hydroxyestradiol, which gets methylated. And if you've watched the Sleep Stack video, I covered what methylation is. But briefly, what we're doing there is adding a methyl group to estradiol to make it more readily available for excretion. So we need to ensure that we have adequate methylation stores, or SAMe, again for this 2-hydroxyestradiol to be eliminated. And we need to make sure that we're supporting that enzyme COMT for that process with magnesium. And if you want further clarification, you can go back to the Sleep Stack video, which I covered COMT on. But we also need to look at 4-hydroxyestradiol. Now this is a very, I'm not going to say dangerous, but it's a metabolite that we don't want our body forming for elimination. The reason being is 4-hydroxyestradiol needs to be conjugated to glutathione in order to be eliminated. And what that can do is actually intercalate with our DNA, and it can cause disruption to our DNA, which potentially could be cancerous. So we don't want 4-hydroxyestradiol being formed, which is why DIM helps to push us down that 2-hydroxy pathway. Now, CDG, or calcium D-glucarate, is a source of glucarate. So I spoke about phase 1 being this biochemical transformation process. Phase 2 is a process where we add compounds to molecules to make them more water soluble for excretion. So calcium D-glucarate adds a glucarate, or performs what we call glucuronidation, to estradiol in order to make it more water soluble for you to excrete in your urine. Now, again, to go back, most male bodybuilders will look at estradiol, and if it's out of range, they'll try to attempt to control estradiol conversion from testosterone. And that happens through an enzyme known as aromatase. Now we have a class of pharmaceuticals called aromatase inhibitors, which blocks that conversion of testosterone to estradiol. But that's not only part of the equation. Like I said, if you're blocking the formation of estradiol from testosterone, you still have to make sure that your liver is eliminating estradiol also. So it's not just a matter of thinking by blocking its synthesis that you're all in the clear. You need to ensure that your liver is healthy, phase 1 and phase 2 metabolism are functioning correctly in order to excrete out estradiol correctly. Now, when we look at blood work, mainly what we're trying to look at here to give us a picture of the liver are the 3 liver enzymes known as AST, ALT, and ALP. So aspartate transferase, AST, ALT, alanine transferase, and then ALP is alanine phosphatase. When we look at these enzymes, 2 of them, AST and ALT, they're contained in muscle tissue. So if you train the day before you get your blood work done, you're going to see elevations in these 2 enzymes. What we need to pay attention to is actually ALP, which is more specifically located within the liver. That sort of gives us an indication of what inflammation is happening within the liver, and we can sort of correlate that back then to potentially fibrosis or scarring. As an aside, if you've watched the liposomal glutathione video, GGT then is a marker that we look at for glutathione recycling. So between the 4 of them, it gives us a general picture of what's happening at the liver, and then we can look at bilirubin, which is a breakdown product of red blood cells, to ensure that bile is actually flowing correctly. So similar to the advice I gave in Ashrag Flows video, it may be worthwhile taking 5 days training off before you get your blood work done. And that'll ensure that you're getting a baseline reading on your liver health. So I hope you enjoyed the tips that I've discussed here surrounding the liver stack and you're a little more educated on the product. I'm Dr. Dean St. Mart, formulator for Supplement Needs, and thank you for listening.